My name is Clyde Caw, VA6LBU. I'll be your MC for this session of the 3905 Century Club board meeting. We'll start this with a roll call. First area.
First area present, KB1XB.
Okay, thank you. Second.
N2XCT present. Second call area.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Peter. Third. I don't think I see anybody from the third in the gallery.
No.
Okay, fourth area.
Present, K9 GWS.
Okay, and I will note that Dwight, his alternate, is here. WA6LBU for the fifth. Sixth area.
KJ80 present, and the associate director Wayne is here as well.
Okay, thank you. Seventh. No, seventh. Eighth.
AG8WL for the 8th. Doesn't.
Okay, thank you. Ninth. No, 9. 10th.
AA0HF here.
Okay, thank you. And DX.
DXV3CMB and VA3YKT. We're here.
Okay, thank you, Vice President.
AA1 and A present.
And President.
President KL7OR present.
Okay, looks like we have a quorum. I will note that the secretary, secretary alternate and treasurer, and I don't see Ben. Is Ben here? Scrolling up. Okay, Ben's not here. Just secretary treasurer here. Okay, with that, bear with me a second. We'll go into minutes, voting on last month's minutes. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move
Minutes.
K9 GWS.
Okay, thank you, Gary. I forgot to bring the agenda up. I printed a copy of the first page, but that was it. Do I have a second?
V3CMB.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Motion detected at the shed.
We'll go ahead and vote to approve, starting with first area.
First area approves.
Second area.
Motion detected at the back door.
Second area. We're doing minutes, Peter. Second area approval. Is Peter muted?
Pardon me? I had the answer to the door.
Okay, we're voting on minutes. But it's your turn to vote. Okay. Fourth.
Approved K9 GWS.
Okay. Fifth area approves. WA6LBU. Sixth area.
Sixth area abstains.
Okay. And eighth area.
Approves KG8WL.
Okay. 10th area.
At the approves AA0HF.
Okay. DX.
DX approves V3CMB.
Okay. Vice President.
Vice President approves AA1 and A.
Okay. And President.
President approves KL7OR.
Okay. Motion approves. Moving on to financials in October. Motion to accept.
So moved.
Okay. Eighth area approved. Was that eighth area that moved?
Yes.
Okay. And second?
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Yeah, since since Doug doesn't know our voices, please spit your call sign out when on seconds and motions on that.
So who seconded it?
KJ 8-0.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Okay. Do we have any discussion on the financials? Okay. Hearing none. Move to approve. First area.
Let me turn that down.
First area approves, KB1XP.
Okay. Second area.
Approve.
Okay. Third, fourth area.
Fourth area approved, K9 GWS.
Okay. Fifth area approves. Sixth area.
Sixth area approves, KJ 8-0.
Okay. And eighth area.
Eighth area approved, KG 8WL.
Okay. 10th area.
Approved, AA0HF.
Okay. And DX.
The X area approves V3 CMB.
Okay. And Vice President.
Approves AA1 and 8.
Okay. And President.
President approves, KL7OR.
Okay. That motion approves. Financials approved. Committee reports. Are there any questions or discussion on the committee reports? Okay, hearing none. Who is that? Okay, I thought somebody had some input. Moving on to old business, which we have none. New business, I don't have any listed as well. I'm sure that the president has some comments. Dean, the floor is yours.
OMG. As you all know, election season is underway. Currently, 3 people have stepped forward to run for re-election. We've got Peter, N2XTT, and Rich, AC2MT, in the second call area, and in the 8th call area, we've got W8NET. All have officially put their name in the hat. So we still have another month before we wrap it up, but yep, and the word's getting out. So I think that's all I've got. I don't have a lot to say this month, Clay.
Okay, thank you. A little bit open discussion between the directors. Is there anything anybody wants to bring up?
Yes, N2XTT.
Go ahead, Peter.
On the net, at least a couple of weeks ago, on the website, it states that the late net would start at 0400, yet it runs at 0500. Is there any reason why it runs at 0500 as opposed to 0400?
Which band?
The late net starts
40.
the late net starts at 0500. The early net starts at 0100, which is a 5-hour difference.
Which band are you referring to?
40 meters.
Okay.
So Peter, right now the website shows that the 40-meter late net starts at 500 Zulu, which is midnight Eastern time, and it was 400 Zulu during daylight savings time to keep the net at midnight.
It was still
time.
midnight.
Yes. I just want to check the website to make sure. It's all possible there was a mistake on the website, but there's on a website right now it says it starts at 500 Zulu.
Well, what happens usually on the 40-meter early net, since we don't have that many check-ins, it's ending like I'm going to use Eastern time. It runs about an hour and a half tonight. It because we had a lot of check-ins. There probably will be a second round, but the early net in the last week or so has been ending like 8:30, 8:45. And that leaves basically a 3-hour difference between the late net ending and the early net ending and the late net starting up. I was just wondering why we are at 0500 in a wintertime and not 0400.
I believe that's because of the mechanics of daylight savings.
Well, I think that it was just comment as I think the general consensus is that we wanted to try to keep the nets running at the same local time year in and year out, and by doing so, you've got to shift when you go away from daylight savings time and when you come back from daylight savings time. And we've been doing that for some time.
Okay, but
is that just
the 40-meter early net now starts at 7 o'clock, not 8 o'clock, like it did during the daylight saving time.
Comment.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Yeah, Peter and I are both old timers, and I will verify that for 20, 30, 40 years or so, 40-meter always stayed the same Zulu time for the early net and the late net, 0100 and 0400, and it was the 75-meter net that changed to stay with the same local time. Now, exactly why that was that way, but it was that way for forever, basically.
It's basically up to the net control, the coordinator for 40 meters. But I'm just asking the question.
So I can say this, Peter, is what's his name in California? He was a coordinator. He was the one that used to shift the nets at daylight savings time, and that was probably at least 10 years ago, not longer, that he was doing that, and we just carried it forward. So
yeah, at least I can finally sleep and not drive you everywhere.
Because I'm not, like I said, I'm not an old timer, but I remember when I got started with the club, the 40-meter late net started at 8 o'clock, my time, local time, and now it's always 9 o'clock. So, but yeah, it's the net coordinator that gets to make those decisions. So,
And
I've got to ask though, Peter, is it causing problems?
I think we're losing a lot of people between 3-hour gap, and there's really no 40-meter net running. We have about 25, maybe 30 check-ins on a 40-meter early net. I'll even push it to 40, and the net ends at 8:30, 9 o'clock, and there's a 3-hour gap there between when the early net ends and the late net starts. Of course, there's not many directors that check into the nets anyway, so
Comment.
if I may. Okay. A lot of things have changed over the years. It used to be that it wasn't uncommon at all for the early net to last through until it was time for late net to start. I won't go into all the reasons why it doesn't now, but one thing I did notice is I did see one occasion when they had this net scheduled as they are It was KI 7 PM was net control. We had a good list, good band conditions. He ran the 40-meter early net for the full 5 hours. And I don't think we want to put ourselves in a position where someone is expected to run a net for 5 hours. For that, I'll turn it over to whoever.
Ralph, you're correct, but I will say this is that as Peter would say, you know, when I came into the club, there was a 3-hour difference between the early net and the late net. And it was very common for the early net to come up to the time of the late net and always ask, is there net control on board? And can I finish around? All those kinds of things. And now what is it, 5-hour difference? I don't know, but that all happened in 2013 or 2014. Mr. Dwight was part of that, so he could probably answer you.
Before Dwight goes, because I see he's muted there, don't forget the issues we had years ago, folks, with the guys on 75. So they they were on their net or their chat or whatever they were doing, and they would not change. They wanted it to be the same local time. So when the Zulu time changed, they did not switch theirs an hour earlier. They stayed the regular time. So what that meant was on 40 meters, we needed to be careful because don't forget, it's not just 40 early, 40 late, but 40 early. If we didn't change the time there, it would run into the 75 meter early net because the 75 meter net would not change the time because we couldn't. So locally, we changed time, not Zulu. So that, I think, played into it a little bit as well. And I didn't explain it the way I thought I would, but anyway.
Well, you got to remember, too, that our club isn't just about 40-meter nets. We have a 75-meter net that starts at 200 Zulu.
That's what I'm saying, Gary. Yep.
Now I forget what the exact time is, but and then now the 160-meter net's going to start at 400 Zulu. So you got 2 other nets between the early and the late net as well. Plus, on some nights you have CW nets and PSK nets in that same time slot. So,
and to add to that, there's some people, like I was for a while, that I only had an antenna up on one band. So I could give diddly squat darn what time 75 started or shut down or anything. I was only interested in the one band. In fact, I can get back to almost got antenna problems, almost back in the same situation again. But anyway, this thing where we got to do this because of this other band is a hogwash, in my opinion.
I got a comment that I've gotten some feedback that some people appreciate the fact that you can run several more rounds on 40-meter early before ditching 40-meter early to go to 75. So I think a lot more contacts are being made, but those certainly don't represent the majority, but they have been vocal.
Oh, I'm done.
Okay. Anything else?
I have something.
Okay, Eric.
Sure. And this is just a request or a comment. Back on the 6th, I posted 2 new questions the Bylaws Review Committee had for the Board of Directors. I think they may have got mixed in with all the discussion on the board packet about that same time. Got lost. But I'd like to call your attention to that posting and ask the board to take a look at those questions and comment on the reflector, if you don't mind. That's it.
Okay.
I have looked and I will.
Okay, Ralph, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said I have looked at that material he's talking about. I haven't posted anything yet. I don't know if I'll post or just go direct, Eric, but
you just fine, Ralph. We just appreciate your guidance. Thank you.
Eric, okay. What date? Do you remember the date you posted that?
The 6th, it looks like.
November 6th?
That was the one pointing out the multiple assistant directors. Yeah.
Correct.
I can make a quick comment on that. And I haven't really looked it over thoroughly, but as I've read through both and started thinking about it, the Constitution does mention multiple assistant directors. The bylaws does not say that you can't have multiple assistant directors, but it does designate, and you'll notice in the Constitution that's a lowercase a for the assistant director. In the bylaws, it kind of fleshes that out to say the same thing as the Constitution, that there's one of those assistant directors that gets promoted to a capital A assistant director that's chosen, who has the right to vote in place of the area director. So looking at it from that perspective, if I wanted to have, 6 or 8 guys helping me and just give one of them the capital A assistant director title, I don't see where there's any conflict between the two, the bylaws and the Constitution on that issue.
Great. Thanks, Ralph.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, I got one more item.
Oh no, not Dean.
Not Dean. So, Doug and I talked about this earlier, and I'd like to just know what the opinion of the board is in terms of the agenda of republishing data that is already available on the website, namely the minutes of the previous board meeting, the financial statements, and those kinds of things, and that the agenda only have the pertinent things like new business and old business, so that we don't have to sift through 35 pages of stuff looking for something. And I'd like some feedback. Actually, I have some feedback for Doug as to what to do, because I think our agenda is too voluminous with stuff that's already available.
So
and I'm open.
So my thought, and I've got quite a bit of experience doing this job at various levels, mostly in religion and in my 350 member radio club. By using links, it makes the agenda 1 page or so instead of 30 or 40 pages, and people can print the attachments that they are interested in that are linked. And apparently Dean did a test, and apparently anybody not signed in has access to all those reports and all that online. We would have to add a new category for the bylaws and constitution committees. But otherwise, it looks like we could just put a link in there and be done with it. And I like the idea. I tried it as a test my first month, and I got quite a lot of pushback, we should say. That wasn't people were not happy with it. But
Doug, I like the way it's being done. I think it's easier when you want to go read, whatever it is, the minutes, whatever. You can just click on it and you're there. You don't have to page down through a bunch of stuff in the agenda. The only comment I have, and I'm not sure why people are having trouble with this, is some people are saying that when they click on the link, they can't get to the documents. People that aren't on the board, in other words, the general membership. And I don't know why that is.
Well, the only person that has ever raised that comment that I can remember is a member of the board.
No, Jim, KB3PU has brought it up 2 months ago.
Right. You're right. I'm corrected. Yep. Thank you. Yep.
I don't know technically why that happens, or he's maybe the only one who's trying to look at it. I don't know.
I'd like to make a comment on that, Doug.
Go ahead, Dwight.
Yeah, okay. On the bylaws committee, we had to go back to 2001 to review the minutes to see what was done at the meetings. And the problem is, if you have it strewed everywhere around, you make it very, very difficult for someone trying to search the history. Whereas if you get an agenda and it's got 35 pages and you don't want to read the report, you don't want to read the bylaws report, that's place. So when we go back to research things like that, hopefully we won't have to do it again. But when you go back to research, it's all there. Instead of wondering when you read the agenda, have to go all the way through everything to figure out what month somebody did one thing. Just like
the minutes should include all decisions. Okay, so if a motion was made to accept some change to the bylaws, that should be stated in the minutes. Whereas we don't need necessarily a whole attachment of all the bylaws to the minutes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't think you have that now in the agenda. On the agenda, you've got the attachments tacked on.
Right.
And I think the minutes should contain everything, because it gives me one place to go to look, see what happened. I don't have to go, oh, when did they talk about this? It makes sense.
So ultimately what happens is that the board goes to vote on the minutes from the previous month. They're not correct. So we make the correction and then we correct it on our website. And those are the final minutes, not what was in the meeting. Anyway, I've got no problem to leaving like it is. Okay, not at all. It seems like the agendas get to be very voluminous, and trying to go through it like this. If you go through the current agenda, there's financial reports from June, July, September, and October, I believe, are all there. So, and trying to sift through that and trying to find the current stuff, a little problematic, but it's not too bad. I mean, it's not like we're having to go back and do that research all the time. So
well, that wasn't the particular issue I was talking about. My issue is, if I want to see what happened in September of 2023, I go look at the minutes and I have everything there. Now, we did have a couple months where the minutes weren't published. They had to be published. We had to do 2 months. That was just recently. I can't remember when the financial reports were tied all together, unless there was something that linked to this financial report to another financial report that was part of this. So if I want to do some research, I'd like to be able to bring up the minutes for the month and see everything that came up. I'm done.
So it would be there by a link. I wouldn't want to try to hide it, but say like the bylaws proposals for that month would be a link, and anything that was moved and accepted or rejected would be detailed. But what we can do, how about this? We try to do it both ways for a couple of months and see what you think. So if you want to click on the link, you can see how much trouble it is. But before we do that, we'll do a little further testing to make sure that it truly is accessible to anybody. And if it is, then try to figure out what Jim's problem was. Is that a reasonable compromise?
I mean, the board has to agree with you. I don't, but yeah, I agree with that, and I will use all the links to see if I can get to them, and to see if the link is in the minutes of the board meeting, then if I can find the information on the link, that's fine.
So, Doug, I have a comment on that then. So I don't necessarily disagree with using links, but I would want to find a way for them to be persistent, which means that in 2 years, I go pull that up and click a link and I can still find the materials. So maybe work with the webmaster on how to do that. Just think about that.
As far as I know, that there's no archiving done in that particular section of the website. But I will check. But I thought I went back and I saw some old dates in there. But I'll look. I'll make sure.
Yeah,
I think
just
the way that
just
it's
to
being
go back.
done. Okay, somebody was talking.
Yeah, sorry, V3CMB. And just to sort of go along with what Eric was just saying there, you know, I don't know if we're going to change the structure of how we where we save things and all this stuff, right? So, you know, any file that gets moved, then obviously your link is not good anymore. Whereas if it's in the minutes, all the documents are within the minutes as attachments, not part of the agenda, but as attachments to the agenda, then they're all there. And what you do behind the scenes, or what we do behind the scenes with the website, with the directory structure, where we lay things out, it doesn't matter at that point, right?
Well,
But
the way we were storing
Well,
them, it can't attach to the PDF. The only way to attach to the PDF would be a link. And the link has to have a storage location. Unless I'm missing something.
And maybe Doug, a way to ground it, if we just go look at Section 8 of the bylaws, all documents produced by the club have to be retained 3 years. So we just need to find a way anything we're working with is retained 3 years. It doesn't disappear after 1.
Yep.
So we are not archiving and eliminating documents, you know, in the library of documents that we have. I mean, we've got them all. We've got the amendments. We've got the unapproved minutes, the approved minutes, all that kind of stuff is all still there. So, so we are keeping that data. So just to let people know that. So, and you know, all I was really governing is that we have 2 committees that provide, is it 2 committees or 1 committee, but it's like the financial reports. We post them and then we put them in the minutes and then we approve them and we don't go back and change them. So, you know, I guess we don't, but, you know, what happens so let's say that we needed to change the, financial report for October that Gary just submitted here last week. Okay. We need to amend it for some reason. Okay. So, how do we mechanically make that happen? So that somebody wanting to go back and look at the financials for October get the correct thing. That's all. So anyway, we will continue doing like we do it, and we'll put links in there, and we'll get feedback from the board. I guess is the best way to go forward.
Okay. Anything additional? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, that's where I'm looking. Who is the motion to adjourn?
I will tell Eric that I see minutes going back to, I just clicked on 2009 and I can see them all the way back there, but I'm not sure that they're public. So, okay. I'm sorry. Back to your agenda.
Okay.
It was adjourned.
Hang in there, Doug. Let me ask you a question when you just said it. So let's close the meeting and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, N2XTT.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
V3CMB. Aye.
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 Aye. Okay. We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.